Welcome to Trex Academy, where you can learn everything that you need to know about building your decking project. I'm Devin, and I'm here with Lindsay, and over the span of several videos, we're going to be showing you step by step how we turned this old tired deck into a beautiful outdoor living space.
So what we've got here is an old pressure-treated deck that's about 22 feet wide and 10 feet deep. Now 10 feet is a little shallow for a 6-person seating area, so what we're going to do is extend it out about 14 feet and add a set of stairs right about where Devin is standing.
Okay, so if you want to see the videos of this entire build process and others, you can go to trex.com/academy. So before we start the teardown of our existing deck, we need to talk a little bit about personal safety. You should always make sure that you've got your safety glasses, hearing protection, gloves, that you're wearing pants instead of shorts, and that you have some kind of reinforced toe on your boots. It's also really important to always make sure you've got a first aid kit nearby. Okay, so since we've got all of that covered, we're ready to start the demo of this deck. We're actually going to start by pulling off this lattice and taking a good look underneath because we never know what hazards we might be running into. Could be electrical wires,
wasps' nests, bees' nests, really a number of different hazards could be under there.
Exactly.
So
that's where we're going to take a look.
Yeah, let's get this removed so we can find out what we're looking at. Spider nest way back there.
Yep. Here, get this over here. Everything else looks pretty good. So while it might look cool on camera to take a sledgehammer to your railing, or maybe even give it a karate kick to just throw it off of your deck, that's not a safe way to do it. So instead what we've done here is we've taken a reciprocating saw, we've already cut it at the bottom, always making sure to miss our brackets. So now we just need Lindsay to go ahead and cut the tops, and I'll be able to take the entire railing set off to the dumpster. Okay, very nice. All right, great job. I'll take this to the dumpster. You can go ahead and get started on the next one.
Will do. Okay, Devin, railings are out, so what's next?
All right, so now we're going to be removing our decking and all of our framing. So there are definitely two common ways that you can do this, one more common than the other, and that first being that you would just remove each board individually, all the way down.
That sounds like it would take forever.
Yeah, it definitely does. Not only does it take forever, but it can be a safety hazard as well, because as you're pulling them all up, you've got, in this case, 20-plus-year-old nails, and you have over 600 of them in this deck.
So they'd probably be all rusty and...
Yeah, well, don't ask me how I know, but it can get pretty bad, okay?
Noted.
So because of that, what I like to do is the other option I was talking about, where we'll still remove these two boards on the end, and we'll remove the two deck boards near the house. Then we'll go back with the circular saw, get in between our joists, and we'll make a cut all the way towards the house. We'll do that on every bay. After that, we'll come back with a reciprocating saw, cut the end of our joists on both sides. Now we've got a manageable section of decking with our deck boards and our joists all connected. So in the example I was given earlier, you're pulling deck boards off. Now you have to go and remove your joist. In this case, again, we've got nice manageable sections, which we can easily handle and take to the dumpster.
That sounds great. So instead of constantly removing each board one after the other, it's
and
just
then hammering
one
down
fell
nails.
swoop. Right, exactly.
Right. This is a lot safer, and I think it's a lot faster as well.
I like it. Now these joists didn't look terrible. Would you ever keep a frame?
Yeah, there are some situations which I might do that. I'm always looking out for a couple things though before I do. So one is it needs to have been built pretty recently.
Okay, so not this one.
Definitely not this one. Okay, the other big thing that I'm looking for though is it up to code, or could it be easily brought up to code? Okay, so obviously we can tell, like you said, this is out because it's far too old. There are a lot of things that we have to worry about, just like you probably noticed this right here.
Yeah, all this rust right here, it looks like it's almost rusting through.
Exactly. The hanger and the fasteners are rusting, and this is a critical connection point between our joist and our ledger board. Okay. So if this fails right here, your entire deck could go down, because it's like this on every one of them.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, I know. The other big thing though is, even though our joist might have looked good going all the way across the span, this is the important part that we need to look at. We have rot actually starting from the ends. We've got some at the top.
Yeah, I see
See
that.
the splitting and cracking.
That looks like a safety hazard
Yeah,
in
exactly.
addition to this.
So altogether, this is a very dangerous connection. That's why we have to change it out.
Got it. So you mentioned code. Was this frame ever up to code?
Very well could have been. It was built a while ago, so there's no way to know exactly, but definitely by today's standards, it is not. So we can see we've got some lag screws about every 4 feet.
Yeah.
We would need to at least double those to get with code. The other big thing is we would need to install some flashing between our ledger board and the house. So that flashing will allow the water to go away from the house and over the ledger.
Makes sense. All right, so clearly you did not approve of keeping this
Absolutely
frame.
not,
Sounds
no.
like a code official wouldn't approve of keeping this frame.
I would hope not.
Let's say hypothetically, I am buying a house
Okay.
and I hire a home inspector to come out, take a look. Pretty normal.
Probably a good idea.
Right, yeah. What would a home inspector have to say if they saw a frame like this?
Okay, yeah, building a new deck on a frame like this,
Yeah.
oh, it would not pass, for sure. They would request that it be built up to code. Now, how that happens, whether that happens, that's going to be negotiation between you as a seller and with the buyer. You guys come to some kind of terms. It's just going to make it a little bit more of a headache during the buying process.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Right.
I can see why we're building a whole new frame.
Absolutely. So we've almost got it demoed, so let's go ahead and tear this ledger board off of here.
Okay. Yeah. This looks pretty bad. Would you say it's the worst you've ever seen? What are we looking at here?
Okay, so I'm not going to say that it's the worst that I've ever seen, but it is actually pretty close because this is really bad.
How does it even get like this?
Okay, so as I was walking up, one of the first things I noticed, it had no flashing. So
Okay.
I kind of expected to see this. So flashing would be the answer. So as water comes down, that flashing's purpose is to divert the water over top of our ledger board instead of letting it get down behind. So without the flashing, that's what happened. Water got behind the sheathing in our ledger board. It just sat there for years and years, and this is the result.
Gotcha. And this is one of the ledger boards that we
Yep,
actually
yep.
ripped off, right?
Yeah, so I actually tore this one off last right here for a couple different reasons. You can actually get a big view, a large view of what's all going wrong on this deck that we had. So we've got corrosion, rust on our hanger here, and our nails. Look at that.
Yeah.
Almost rusted all the way
Yeah,
through.
that looks terrible.
Yeah, it's really bad shape.
Yep.
But even worse, as we turn it around, now we get a big view of all the problems that were happening behind this ledger
That's
board.
wild. Look, that came right off
Yeah,
with it, didn't
exactly. It was so wet that it actually attached and is all like glued on there because it's so rotten.
it? Yeah. All right, now riddle me this. I see where the lag screw went in.
Right.
Why do we have so many nails, which are rusted, I might add as
Yeah.
well?
So I can only assume that when it was installed, they used only nails to hold this ledger board to our rim board, which is not code compliant, and it's actually a really common failure point of a deck. You never want to see this. So it looks like at some point, maybe a house inspector came by, maybe they were selling the house and demanded that it be brought up to code, so they added these lag screws. But even to today's standards, those lag screws spread out that far isn't up to code. That's why we're going to make sure that we do it right.
Okay, so what are our next steps here then?
Okay, so the process already began, as I said, as I first walked up. I'm already inspecting, I'm already looking for things that could be a problem. Missing flashing is a big one. So I knew we were going to have some kind of water issues. So our next step in the inspection process is now to get behind this building paper that we have here.
Yep.
And we're going to be looking for where the water has stopped migrating upward. So once we find that point, we know the parts that need cut away.
Okay.
The next thing we need to do is look for migration into the house or into the rim board of the house.
See, I didn't even think about that. That's super important
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
our lag screws are going in here for the new ledger.
Right,
so
so
we
that
want
has
to
to
make
be
sure.
sound.
Yeah, exactly.
Not only is that going to be supporting our deck, but if this isn't structurally sound, the wall on top of it isn't going to be structurally safe either.
So one more reason to make sure that this guy's in
Yeah.
good condition.
Yep.
Okay, next question. How do we make sure that this damage doesn't happen in the future?
Okay, right, because we don't want to see this happen ever again,
No.
right? Especially as a homeowner. So what we're going to be doing after we've started our inspection, we're going to be tearing out all of this rotted sheathing here.
Okay.
Then we're going to be inspecting this, because with that gone, we'll get a really good picture of the condition of our rim board.
Right.
So as long as that's safe and sound, now we can cover that up with new sheathing. With the new sheathing installed, we'll be installing a waterproof membrane starting here where we had that piece of siding that we took off, and it'll cover all of our new sheathing that we've installed. After we do that, we're going to come back and install the missing flashing.
Okay.
That'll go about here, And then we'll have a narrow piece of waterproof membrane that'll just keep water from going behind our flashing and make sure that it all gets diverted over top of our ledger. So if you don't mind,
sure,
hold that there for me. And I'm going to show you another reason of why this whole system failed. So missing flashing was the biggest part.
Okay.
But the appropriate gapping between our flashing, like if we put this all the way up here, now you have a spot for debris to get trapped, leaves to get trapped. That's going to act as a sponge and hold water. Or if we come down here, now we have a better gap. So we're going to make sure we have the appropriate gap here. But
yeah,
here's a
you
prime
can see
example.
how all that debris just got caked right in.
And it actually rotted this out as well.
Yeah.
You can see on the back, same thing. Look at this.
Yeah,
Completely
that's not
rotten
in
here
great
as well.
shape.
So we don't want to see this either, right?
Okay.
So we're going to take care of that the right way.
So after we do all of that, will this be up to code?
Yes, it'll definitely be up to code, but it's always important to check with your local municipality because it could be different. They might require even more in your area.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Well, I guess we should get started. But first, we need to clean up this space.
Yeah, we've got a lot of leaves, debris, a lot of large rocks as well, so we definitely need to clear those out of the way. And then we need to check the grade to make sure that it slopes away from the house. Okay, so with that out of the way, mind to get the smaller stuff.
On it.
I'm going to start picking up these larger rocks. Okay, so just to recap, we've torn apart the entire deck, and the last step of that process was to remove our ledger board from the house.
And there was a lot of rot in the sheathing underneath that ledger board. Fortunately for us, the rim board for the floor system was still in good condition.
Yeah, thank goodness. That was a big deal.
Huge deal, because that meant that we could still keep the rim board. All we had to do was replace that rotted sheathing.
Right, and to protect that sheathing, we're installing a waterproof membrane on all the new stuff that we've installed. We've got one bigger section left here to put in, and as we do that, we just want to make sure that we have an overlap right here and that we have a side lap at the end. But to go one step further, we're going to be installing a more narrow waterproof membrane, and that's going to tuck up underneath their siding, and again, it's going to be overlapping on our larger sections. All of this backflashing is just to make sure that if water somehow does manage to get behind our ledger board, that we're not going to see that same rotting problem that we had before.
We do not want to see again.
Absolutely not. So we're going to go ahead and install this last piece. Just peel a few inches off the back there and we'll get started. Get it stuck up there, and then we'll just work in small sections.
I think we are stuck.
Good. Okay. Work our way down.
That last bit's all you.
With our backsplash installed, our next step is going to be to install our ledger. So you can go to trex.com/academy, where you'll find that video and a whole lot more covering the entire deck building process. Thanks for watching.